Welcome to the Accent Training Podcast, a podcast where I teach you to harness the American accent. I teach you how you can use it. I teach you what we can develop and how you can reach your potential when it comes to speaking the English language. Now, I've discussed potential quite a few times on this show. That isn't a new topic, but we're going to break potential down right now. Potential is to say your capacity to develop something, to develop it, to make it better for the future. I'm here to walk you through that process, my friend, and make sure that we can get on track learning the American accent and put your insecurities behind you. Now today, I'm just going to give you a bunch of handy speech tips. These are going to be speech tips that you can apply to your daily life, realistic ones that are practical for communicating with Americans. We'll get into a good handful of idiomatic expressions, discuss their meanings, put them into context, and even talk about how they're pronounced a little bit. Just about how we can stretch vowels out in the way that we want to, or making certain sounds quiet and disappearing, or even changing sounds from the way that they're spelled and pronouncing them in totally new ways. And we'll get into that in just a minute, but real quick, I've just got to ask you to hit that follow button, give this podcast a 5-star review or a 1-star review if you don't like what you're hearing. However, if you are someone who's to leave a 1-star review, feel free to send me a message on Instagram at Accent Training and tell me why you think my podcast is a 1-star podcast. So far, I've had 0 1-star reviews, but I haven't had enough 5-star reviews in my opinion. So give me a 5-star review, hit subscribe, follow this podcast, and you'll be notified as soon as new stuff comes out. Now, a big part of why you want to be notified is because you want to be proactive. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be proactive. Be proactive, not reactive. Now, this means that we want to prepare for what's to come and not fall behind by reacting to unexpected difficulties. Now, you have a proactive attitude. It's the reason why you're listening right now. You want to prepare for whatever life has to throw at you. And you've found that opportunity here, listening to this podcast. Now, whether you're a beginner-level English speaker or a pro, I can help you reach your goals of speaking with an American accent. And I've created a video course to make that possible. This video course will prepare you to navigate communication with Americans fluidly and naturally. We're going to focus on the most common sounds of the American accent. I not only teach you how to use these sounds, but to better recognize and understand them when Americans speak. If you go into an English-speaking situation understanding things better, then surely you'll be more prepared to succeed, right? We will be taking a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. Now, a great part about Udemy is that there's a 30-day money-back guarantee on my video course. So if you purchase the video course and you try it, but you don't like it, hey, there's no hard feelings. You can have every penny back. However, I'm proud to say that so far, not one single person has asked for their money back. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself and start speaking with an American accent today. Check the link in the description of this episode to get my video course on Udemy. All right, let's get busy and work on your spoken English. There's a word right there to start with. Busy. Busy. Notice how the U in busy, that U isn't sounding like an I'm not saying bussy, but I'm making the U into an I sound. I. Busy. What we call a short I or a lax I. Bi. And then the S in busy isn't making a regular S kind of sound at all, is it? It's sounding a little bit more like a Z. It's getting some voice, sounding like a Z. Busy. And that is my first English speaking tip for you today, my friend, which is going to come in very handy. And by the way, come in handy. Come in handy. This is just what the title of the episode says, doesn't it? Come in handy. Well, this means that it'll be useful. It's going to be of use for you. Imagine that this was a tool for your English in your hand, at your disposal. So there's another useful idiom. That phrase, come in handy, can come in handy for you quite often as well. And let's talk about how to pronounce that. That's got one of those AN sounds. I discussed that just a couple episodes ago when I spoke about the American twang. Episode number 105, how to develop the American twang for yourself. Handy. I'm not giving it a handy. This will come in handy, but handy. Come in handy for you. So we've got 2 down. We've got 2 down already. We are getting a good jump start on things. 2 down, and it's only been a couple of minutes. Busy, handy, come in handy. How about another one here? This is another word that you can literally use every single day, but a lot of people misuse it. And it's the word breakfast. 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 However, notice even though this is spelled with an E and an A, I'm not saying break fast. Break fast. But that E and A is just becoming an sound. And the FAST isn't coming out like a fast, but a fist. Fist. Again, another word that isn't pronounced the way that it's spelled. Busy. The spelling doesn't reflect the pronunciation. Breakfast. The spelling does not reflect the pronunciation here either. Breakfast. Not break fast, but breakfast. All right, the next idiomatic expression. Honestly, I can't be sure if it's used all across the English-speaking world. However, where I'm from, it's very common. And it is to be down. I'm down. Like saying, I'm down. Are you down? I'm down. To be down, D-O-W-N, means to be interested in doing something. I'll be down to hang out tomorrow. I'm busy right now. I'll be down to hang out tomorrow. I'm busy right now. So this is like saying tomorrow I'll be interested in seeing you. I'm unavailable at the moment. I'm busy. And notice, by the way, that American twang in that down. Once more, down. I'm not just saying down, but down. Do all people from North America make a down sort of sound, stretching it out? Own? No, not all of them. A lot of people say down. But I'm teaching you something here that is unique to the North American accent and is pretty useful. Down. Again, check out episode number 105. You don't want to miss it, and develop that American twang for yourself. Now, this is a useful one, especially if you're making plans with people. Now, if you want to ask someone if they're down, you simply say, are you down? Are you down to go to the movies? Are you down to meet for breakfast? Meet for breakfast tomorrow? Are you down? Are you interested? Are you down? So the American twang changes those vowels once more. Practice that, apply it to your own speech, and you will have the sounds and words that every North American will understand with ease. Let's see a couple more here. How about, I can count on one hand? If I say, I can count on one hand how many times you've helped, I can count on one hand. Count on one hand. Count on one hand. This is to say that something has happened a very limited number of times. Maybe 5 times or fewer. You can count on one hand. You look at how many fingers you've got, and it's that amount or less. You can count on one hand how many times they've helped you. And here's a useful one because this has two examples of that American twang. Count, C-O-U-N-T, count, and hand. Hand. Hey-un. We've got a wide A, it's followed by a nasal sound, n. We make that little transition. A-un. Hey-un. Now, if something is limited, but it's more than 5, we can say count on both hands. I can count on both hands how many times this has happened. That means 10 or fewer times. I can count on both hands how many times you've asked me that. Count on both hands. An event that's been limited 10 times or fewer, but it's still more than I can count on one hand. Now, just a side note, we do not include feet or toes in this. We don't say I can count on both hands and both feet. We don't do that. Things would get out of hand if we did. All right, one more idiomatic expression, and this one also has that an sound. Take for granted. I feel taken for granted. Or I wish I hadn't taken that opportunity for granted. To take something for granted is to lack appreciation for something. Now, the pronunciation that I'm using right now, granted, is a little bit different from the spelling. It's spelled granted. Granted. Take it for granted. However, taken for granted is a little more casual sounding, a little less aggressive. Now, a lot of people, even Americans, native English speakers, will confuse the words granted and granite. They'll say take for granted when they mean to say take for granted. Again, the reason for that confusion is that we make the T in the middle disappear with the word granted. G-R-A-N-T-E-D, granted. And the endings are almost indistinguishable. Now that T is a vanishing T. We find those when N and T are unstressed in the middle of a word. Now you know that you can learn all about vanishing T's in my video course. Because hey, Americans make vanishing T's all the time and they can confuse you. You'll find yourself mixing up words like granted and granite. You then get confused and you waste your time trying to figure out what word they actually said. So, well, check out the video course and like I already said, be proactive on that. So there you have it, folks. A bunch of handy speech tips. But I'm happy that you took the time to sit through all 8 of those. And since you did, I'm going to just read them out for you once more so you keep an ear open for this. First off, busy. Busy. I'm not saying bussy, but I'm changing the U to an I and the S to a Z. Busy. Let's get busy. Come in handy. These are all tips that'll come in handy. These will be useful. Useful for your English development. They'll come in handy. And notice that an in the wide A. Breakfast. Again, not a break fast. Not a break, but a BREHK. Breakfast. Strong in the beginning, BREHK. And then fist. Flat, quick on the ending. Breakfast. To be down for something. To be interested in doing something. Down. Modifying that diphthong a little bit to give it a twangy kind of sound. I'll be down to hang out tomorrow. I'm busy right now. Or, are you down for breakfast? Are you down? If we ask it as a question, are you down to meet for breakfast tomorrow? I can count on one hand. Something that has happened 5 times or fewer. A very limited number of times. I can count on both hands. A little bit less limited, right? 10 times or fewer now. And we don't include our feet. We don't say I can count on both hands of my feet. Why? Because things would get out of hand. You can count on one hand, or I can count on both hands. And then finally, to take something for granted. Take something for granted. To lack appreciation for something. Don't take this podcast for granted, folks. I'm here because I feel appreciated. I feel that people want to know these things and take the time to. But that doesn't mean you should take this podcast for granted. These podcasts may not be around forever. And they haven't been around for most of history. And careful, this isn't granite, like the type of rock, granite stone, but granted. Take things for granted. Well, that brings us to the end of our chat for today, folks. Thank you very much for your patience and for your effort. I know that I have listeners who listen to every episode every week and have done so for many weeks in a row, and I say thank you very much for that. And I've got other listeners who are new, but have been binge listening to these episodes like your life depends on it. And I've got to say thank you for that as well, because, well, it's quite a compliment that you would spend hours of your day learning from me. I am so proud of that. Keep on listening, because there will be many more good things to come in the future. I've got a lot of great things that I'm working on, more video courses, more material for my classes, and I'm working on expanding this podcast and my social media presence a little bit. It's tough. Those things, they take focus. Honest, they take focus and dedication. It's like a second and a third job. Like as a second job podcasting, and then a third job promoting it on social media. Oh boy, quite a bit. But totally worth it, because when I get this message out to people, I open up their opportunities. And that's what I'm here for. That's what gives me pride in being a coach for the American accent. So keep on listening and learning, folks. Keep an eye out for future episodes. There will be many more to come. Maybe this week, maybe later this week, but for sure next week. If I get a second episode out this week, that'll be a real blessing, won't it? But I'm 100% sure that next week there will be at least one episode as well. Like I said, I can promise one episode a week. One episode a week, that's my promise. A second episode, if I've got time. And if I've got a good idea and I think to myself, I don't want to wait, I'll just make this right now. Then you'll get a second episode. But at the moment, one a week is my commitment to you, my friends. So hit subscribe if you haven't already, so that you're notified if a new episode does come out a little early. And I look forward to teaching you many more incredible things about the English language in the days to come. Have a good one, folks.